Welcome to the Term Rental Playmaker Podcast, where we break down what it really takes to win in short-term rentals in today's market. From insider tips and emerging trends to real conversations with top playmakers in the space, this show gives you the tools, strategies, and mindset to build and scale a successful short-term rental business. Now, here's your host, Joe Roney.
Today's episode is brought to you by Savvy STR Agents, the short-term rental real estate experts helping investors find profitable vacation rental properties nationwide. If you're serious about scaling your STR portfolio, Savvy STR Agents should be your first call.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Short-Term Rental Playmaker Podcast. I am super excited to have an in-person guest and my friend Melissa Young in the studio today. Welcome.
Yay, thank you. I am so honored to be asked to come back.
Yeah, so Melissa was on the podcast when it was still the Cohost Coach because we met through the co-hosting mastermind, obviously. And you can go back and watch that episode about, you know, the history and all that stuff, which is really awesome. But what we're really excited to talk about today is the Midwest and why investing in the Midwest is really great.
It is phenomenal. So many people are sleeping on investing in the Midwest, which they really shouldn't be. There's so much here to offer.
Yep. So Melissa is actually one of our newest, not that new. It's been, how long have you been with Savvy now?
It'll be a year in August.
Wow. So coming up to a year in August, our Savvy St. Louis agent. And it was funny, a lot of people asked me, "What, Joe, you live in St. Louis. Why aren't you the Savvy St. Louis agent?" And I am not the right person for the job. Melissa is definitely the right person to be our Savvy St. Louis agent. And I've been super excited to have her on the team.
Well, I thank you for the vote of confidence. I mean, I'm here because of you pitching me to the Savvy team. And I even said the same thing when they came to me, like, am I the right person for St. Louis? But I love this market, and it's just been such a joy to represent.
Well, you invest in the market, right?
Yeah.
I don't invest here. You do. You bought your first short-term rental outside of St. Louis and outside of Bourbon, right?
Correct. Bourbon, Missouri.
So, and you've owned that for quite a few years?
Coming up on 4 years now.
So coming up on 4 years, and you currently co-host how many properties St. Louis side?
In the city proper, I have 2
Okay.
that I co-host for, and then we have a couple more just outside of the city.
Okay. Yeah. And then Branson.
Yeah, Branson, Lake of the Ozarks.
Lake of the
We're
Ozarks.
branching out. We love Missouri here.
Yes. So the reason why I wanted to bring you on today is truly to talk about why Missouri is such a great place to invest. One of the reasons is Missouri is a very friendly short-term rental state all in when it comes to regulations. There are some, but it's overall pretty friendly, right?
It is overall pretty friendly. Each municipality has their own rules and regulations, and that's something that we pride ourselves on Savvy is helping the owner navigate that, or the buyer that's coming into the market for the first time navigate those regulations and really figure out what works and what doesn't here.
Yep. So obviously downtown St. Louis to suburban St. Charles, all the way out to Bourbon where you are now, and expanding even further to the Lake of the Ozarks?
Yeah, I just started working the Lake of the Ozarks market a few months ago, and that's been such a joy to learn really an entirely different type of market here within the state.
Yep. So for those of you who don't know the Lake of the Ozarks is one of the largest lakes in the entire United States. I think 100-something miles long when it's all said and done. It's been a short-term rental market since I was a kid and beyond, right? I mean, we're 50 plus years as a lake short-term rental market.
Yeah, even well before Airbnb was ever established. Yeah.
So it's dead center of Missouri, right? Just south of our state capital. And a lot of people will call it the party lake.
Parts of it are, yes, but there are a lot of parts that are great for families.
Yep, it is. It's a little bit of a mixture.
It is.
It's interesting. I've lived here my whole life, and I've only been to the Lake of the Ozarks 2 times.
I think I've been 3 now.
Yep. So, you know, I grew up a camping family. We were not boaters. We were campers. And that's just how we grew up. But we're actually going next weekend to Lake of the Ozarks, my wife and I and some friends, to play in a huge cornhole tournament, which is a $10,000 win at Shady Gators next weekend. So we're actually going to spend our 3rd time ever at Lake of the Ozarks next week.
That's huge. Yeah. No, I've been a lot more now as a realtor, but as a guest, I think I've been actually 3 times. And every time I go, I enjoy it. So I always wonder, why don't I come more often?
Yep.
Yeah.
It really is a great community. You know, in the history, it really shut down in the winter, but there's been a lot of new developments happening that are going to continue to keep it, almost turning it into kind of a Branson to where you get a secondary market. What are some of the new things coming to the lake, you know, in the future that makes that look bright?
So far, I haven't really tapped into that piece of it. I know that there's a lot more results. Oh my goodness. Pardon me, the allergies are really getting to me today. A lot more resorts that are coming in. What I've been focusing on really is trying to get into the market now that it's summertime. What can we do? How can we learn the comps? When is the best time to go? And we're changing our marketing strategy on the one that I co-host for to kind of look at the fall as, instead of a dead space in the fall or winter, let's see how we can attract mom groups, because you can get some really good deals down there in the wintertime to go and just get away for the weekend from the kids, have a glass of wine, read a book by the lake, and just enjoy the peace and quiet that comes along in the wintertime down there.
It is. And there is a new theme park that has been on the horizon for quite some time. And I believe they've actually begun construction on the new theme park, which is what I think is going to be the game changer for that market to get it to the next level.
See, I did not even know about that yet. Where's that going to be at?
So it's actually right off the strip. It's almost going to be kind of like a little mini Six Flags, or like a mini Silver Dollar City, type thing. So it's been talked about for over a decade. They actually broke ground.
Oh my goodness.
So now, is that going to open in 6 months or 6 years? That's the question. But the good news is before that opens, you can tap in now to get the prices before it, because once that comes, everything's going to continue to go up.
Yeah, absolutely. I will definitely look into that a little bit more when I get back to the office.
So the other cool thing about Missouri that I see is that our appreciation in the Midwest compared to surrounding areas continues to be high demand.
Yeah.
So even in St. Louis, like in the suburban and urban areas, we're not seeing houses on the market like I have in Florida for 250 days.
No.
We're seeing 30 days and less on a lot of areas.
Sometimes they're going off the market before I can even get in to see them, because I personally go and walk every property and visit them all. And we're seeing about 5 to 6% appreciation per year in the St. Louis market.
Yep. I know my personal residence that I bought in 2015 has well over doubled, which that's happened everywhere nationwide.
Yeah.
But we're continuing to increase. And we're not seeing that level off or flattening like a lot of these traditional vacation rental markets. We're continuing to see those prices continue to go up.
Yeah, and St. Louis isn't really looked at as a vacation rental market. It's completely different. And it's not just the vacationers that we focus on. We have a lot of business travelers that come through. So I love that you say vacation rental market. Most people, when I talk to first-time investors about the Midwest or St. Louis specifically, they're like, people go there to vacation? Yes, they do, but there's so much more that we can offer.
There is. But we still get like 10 million visitors a year in the St. Louis area.
25 million actually
last
year.
So we only get 8 million in Panama City Beach a year. St. Louis is getting 25 million, and St. Louis has a third of the vacation rentals or Airbnb short-term rentals that I have in the Panama City Beach market.
Right. Yeah. We're not even saturated, not close. And in fact, when I talk to investors, I'm inviting them into my market to compete with me because there's just so much opportunity there.
There really is. And if you know anything about St. Louis, like there's so many really great areas. You got everything around Tower Grove, which is close to the zoo, and then you can go all the way downtown to like Dogtown and that area. And then like we talked about in the suburban area when you get a little bit away from the city. How does the regulations look when you get into those St. Louis County suburbs? Are they a little bit more tight?
Every single municipality is different. And there are so many. So we literally have to look at each one. Some don't allow them at all, and some do with some rules, and then some there are no rules. So again, it's a case-by-case basis. As I talk to an investor and we look at the municipality that they are interested in, first thing we're going to do is let's explore the regulations and see if there are any, if they're allowed, and what we can do there.
So if I were a new investor that didn't have a big budget, like what's the price range we're looking at as entry level to get into a short-term rental in the market, and what are the type of properties that really have the best success? Okay,
well, let's divide it up by each market that I serve. So St. Louis, I obviously know a lot more about because I've been dealing with that since the past year or a couple of years since I've been co-hosting. And what we're seeing there, our sweet spot is between about $350,000 and $600,000 as an entry price. That's going to get you a large 3-bedroom, 4 or 5-bedroom. And that is where the numbers shake out the best versus what you can buy the house for and what you can rent it for. When we look at the smaller houses, there's some great deals to be found, but you typically can't rent them for enough to justify the purchase price. So we tend to really ride in that sweet spot to find the best deals for people. And then Lake of the Ozarks, it's a little different story, and I'm just now learning that over the last couple of months. But what I'm seeing there is you've got a much broader range. So you can be really successful with a $300,000 condo, or you can be really successful with a $2 million home on the lake with a ton of property. But what I've noticed when I'm pulling real comps down there, not just the software data, but talking to realtors, things that are for sale, looking at the numbers, a lot of people have a true second home in that lake market, and they use it a lot. So the numbers always don't look the best because they use it so much. But the ones that are true investors there do really well with go big or go home mentality. So you have to compete on design. You have to have the amenities. The larger places are going to be what's going to cash flow for you there. Whereas in the city, you've got more of, you can do pretty good on a mediocre house and make money.
Yep.
But obviously, if you go big or go home in the city as well, cash flow is even greater.
Yeah, I sold, before you became a Savvy agent, I sold one short-term rental in St. Louis in Tower Grove.
Yeah.
And it was a little 3-2. Technically, it was a 4-bedroom. It had like a little loft area upstairs. And she ended up, I think you got it for $279.
Oh, that's incredible.
Cleared like $65K in her first year.
That's phenomenal.
So, over a 20% gross ROI.
Yeah.
And what a lot of people don't realize is the insurance here is going to be so much less than a beach market.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
Yeah.
Like we're paying thousands and thousands of dollars in short-term rental insurance at a beach market, some, $5,000 to $10,000. And it's a fraction of the cost in this market for that.
Yeah. No, I for example, I pay $2,000, I think, a year for a log cabin on 10 acres. So it's a lot better. Yeah,
yes.
More manageable.
So, so when you're really breaking down the numbers and actually underwriting the deals, insurance is one of those big expenses. Taxes are another expense. We don't have the Texas-sized taxes.
Yeah.
Of course, we have property taxes, but we don't have those gigantic, true vacation rental market taxes. Have they changed it in Missouri yet to where vacation rentals are starting to get taxed as a commercial property? And is that something that's still ongoing?
Yeah. So right now, each county assessor can do whatever they want. And 12 counties in the state of Missouri are taxing the vacation rental as a commercial property. And sometimes it kills the deal and we have to walk away. And sometimes it doesn't. You still have plenty of cash flow. I actually joined the board of directors this year for a not-for-profit called Missouri Vacation Home Alliance. And if you guys want, you can visit mova.org. It's MOVHA.org to keep updated. Get on the newsletter. We're trying to get legislation passed through the Missouri House and Senate that will require all of the county assessors to treat all of our properties as residential. So we're hoping we can get that through and get everybody on the same playing field.
Yeah, I think that'd be a huge win. I think it's obviously an uphill battle because, once people start to collect money in the government, they don't like to give it back.
Right.
So like we're going through a whole thing right now to try to get rid of state income taxes and, but they're going to take it from here and charge it somewhere else. So, but I do think it's a great cause. And I think it is important, especially in the Midwestern communities that are not true vacation rental markets, to be treated that way. And you said only 12 counties that's a very low percentage of counties that are doing it.
It is. Yeah. My county where my cabin is one of them. And, it didn't affect me to where the numbers didn't work out anymore. St. Louis City is one of them as well. And again, everyone that I've worked with currently, they got hit because this just happened in the last couple of years. They got hit with the higher tax bill and they're still making money. So it still works even with that in place.
And that actually really, in my opinion, I like to invest in places that already have regulations in place.
Same.
So for them doing it that way, in my opinion, it makes it a little bit safer. And if they take it away, great. Like your numbers are even going to be better if they lower your taxes later. But if you can pencil it out to where it is already in there, the county's getting their money, everybody's happy, they're going to leave you alone, and you can set sail and make some money.
Exactly. Yep.
So obviously in the city, we have a lot of older homes, right?
Yes.
We haven't seen any new construction happening in the city. What does an investor have to plan for renovations on something when they're buying a house that's 100 to 150 years old?
It's a great question. And we actually do have quite a bit of new. In fact, I just went under contract last night with one of my clients for a brand new build in the city. So we have two types of houses. I'll start with the question you asked about the older homes. A lot of these homes are 100 plus years old. They're beautiful, and it's true they don't make them like they used to. They're very efficient. I look at these utility bills, and I'm jealous of how low they are on these brick, beautiful homes that are so tall, and they've been fully restored. So you do have a little bit more maintenance as far as tuck pointing goes. You've got a lot of brick that you've got to look out for. It's porous material, limestone foundations that need to be sealed to keep the water out. But once that's been done, like I said, very efficient, a lot of character are in those homes, the trim, the woodwork. It's just beautiful. Or we have a lot of developers, that are going through the city and tearing down stuff that's just beyond repair, and they're building brand new. And so you get that modern option as well. So we really have a lot of different options for whatever style that you're looking for.
That's awesome. And if you can get something modern with a city view, I mean,
Mhm.
I think that is, that is your moat. That is your game changer that you can really, take that to the next level.
Yeah, and even with the older houses that they're restoring, they're making them modern inside. So you've got the character outside, and you've got the character plus the new inside. My favorite thing is there's a lot of second and third floor balconies and decks. And when we find that house with that arch view, I definitely need to find the investor as soon as I can to snatch that up, because it's the money shot right there.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room that some people know about, because you probably see in the news, St. Louis's high crime area and this and that. And I want to bring it up because the one thing the news doesn't talk about, they talk about percentages.
Yeah.
Right. And it says, oh, you have high gun violence in St. Louis. Well, our St. Louis city population is less than 300,000.
Tiny.
Where Chicago is like 4 million.
Yeah.
Right? We may get 2 gun violences on a weekend and Chicago gets 80, but our percentage is higher because our population is so low in the city. So safety wise, I wanted to bring that up because some people are like, oh my God, it's not a safe city. I have never really gone areas in St. Louis in the downtown area where people actually visit and do that and felt, oh my God, this is safe. Now, are there bad neighborhoods just like any city? There are, but have you felt the same? Like that, and you get the areas, you get around Ballpark Village, you get around, where the Blues play and the soccer stadium and all these different things, activities, the Science Center and all that are all really safe.
I feel very comfortable when I'm down there, and I'm down there almost every day now, and the guests are there. And so I feel like the city has come a long way in the last few years to really make it better and make it amazing. And when I say better, like the streets 10 years ago used to be in transition everywhere, and now they all look brand new. They're just gorgeous. And I, as a guest, as a host, as a co-host, as an owner, I have no issues when I'm down there. So I agree with you. With most people don't understand that they separated our city and county decades ago, and it just skews our numbers, and it makes it look a lot worse than it is. But it's all, it's headlines.
Yep, it is. So like in Chicago, if you look at it, there's like 80 cities around Chicago, but they're technically considered Chicago City. Yeah. Even though technically have their own municipalities. In St. Louis, we have all these cities, like 35 different cities around it, and they're individual cities in St. Louis County, which is why the numbers really get skewed. Yeah.
But even within the city itself, we have different neighborhoods. So there are certain neighborhoods that I'll frequent when I'm looking for properties, because that's where the guests stay. It's where the data's the best. It's where they want to be. And so we just kind of concentrate our efforts in those areas because we know that those are going to make the best STR options.
Yep. And then we have some major hospitals in downtown St. Louis, which bring in business people, traveling nurses, families that are there caring because their families have somebody in the hospital, from Big Barns to Children's Hospital to Cardinal Glennon. Like those are other traffic drivers that I think are important, because it does, when you talk about winter traffic and off-season traffic, these are people that are renting your house because they don't want to stay in a hotel room for 2 weeks while their family's getting treatment. They can stay in a nice house or a short-term rental and be comfortable.
Yeah, they want something nice and cozy that makes them kind of feel like home, especially when they're in a stressful situation like that. But we have over 20 hospitals in the market. So we do get a lot of those traveling in, but not only that, business travelers too. We have the convention center. I can't tell you how many times I've got 4 or 5 adults that'll come in for a trade show, and they don't want a hotel, but they want their own bedroom. So they'll rent one of our 4-bedroom houses, and that fills up our Monday through Thursday all the time.
Yeah, I think that's huge because we get a lot of those. We get tons. I mean, from St. Charles County all the way to St. Louis County, there are trade shows and, the boat show and the camping show and the outdoor show. Like there are things happening all year round. Actually, we it's kind of a thing. We go to the camper show every January, February timeframe. We've gone to it every year for probably a decade and a half. Yeah. Just because we love to see all the new stuff coming out and, dream about what if we go and upgrade our camper or whatever it is. But that brings tens of thousands of people
it's crazy.
into the city that don't usually come into the city, and that's in the middle of winter.
In the middle, but it's all year, everything. Like the boat shows, I think January, February. Yep. But there's something going on pretty much every week down there. It's crazy. But we get a lot of I don't know what it is about the Midwest, but it's like people that move away always come back. So we get a lot of people coming in for family reunions. They're coming in for weddings. They're coming in for friend trips. It's just a mix of everything that you can imagine here. I love it.
Yep, we truly get all 4 seasons here.
Yeah.
Sometimes in the same week.
Yeah.
Sometimes even in
Yeah.
the same day. Like we've gone from 80 degrees to negative temperatures and snow all in one day before. So we do truly get all the seasons. And I think it definitely is another driver that brings people into our area.
Yeah. One thing we haven't touched on yet, though, education. We've got a lot of people coming in for colleges, 35 educational institutions, higher educational institutions are in the market. So it's always interesting to me when new investors come to me and they say, what kind of guest avatar should I design for? And really, it's everyone, because you're going to get everything here.
Yeah, yeah, it truly is. We have tons of colleges from WashU to SLU to UMSL to, I mean, there's just so many.
Yeah.
I actually taught a class at Webster University last month.
Did not know that. That's
and,
awesome.
Taught a group of people that were in the business analytics class how to underwrite short-term rentals.
Oh, that's
so
fantastic.
my friend's been a professor there for years, and he invited me to come teach a class. So it was actually pretty fun.
I could start calling you Professor Joe now.
Yes. So for the record, that was my first time ever in a college classroom because I didn't go to college. So I literally walked in, and at the end of the conversation, they were asking me these questions. I'm like, actually, this is my first time ever in a college classroom, and they're like, how is that true? So, but it was a great class. A lot of them were students from out of the country. So there was a lot of the students were from, everywhere from Africa to India to, all over the place. Some American students, but it was a really diverse group, and the questions and the stuff. And some of them, actually, one of them already owns a long-term rental in St. Louis, and was like, all right, I think I'm interested in maybe doing this when I get out of school. So, so even the young college student that's already considering getting into the short-term rental space, which was pretty cool.
That's phenomenal that you were able to get them to see the value in it. There's just so, I can go on and on about short-term rentals all day. There's just so much, not only in, I think, the tax savings and the cash flow, but just the guest experience. Being able to create something that people are going to come and enjoy, I think, is amazing. And I love that you said so many people from other countries were in these classes. Think about all those families that have to come over and visit them. So that's just more opportunity to have more guests from all over the world come and see whatever you've created in your property.
It is. And people that visit, they want nice things.
Yeah.
People want that design. They want those amenities. They want the experience. And we talk about it all the time. The differentiator to be successful in this space is all about what you do to your property.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody talks about saturation. I just saw an article today. Dan Martell, which is one of my favorite authors, Buy Back Your Time. He had a thing. He's like, short-term rentals are dead. Invest in boutique hotels. And I'm like, this is a person that's not in the short-term rental space because he doesn't understand. Yes, average short-term rentals are dead if you want to be average, but that's in any business, right? It doesn't matter what business that you're in. If your goal is to be average in any business, you are not going to be successful.
Correct.
So in any business, you can be successful if you want to be at the top 10, top 20%. And what I see in St. Louis is a huge opportunity because there's a lot of average.
There is a lot of average. I tell my investors all the time, because we get a lot of new people that are just unfamiliar with the Midwest in general. And I said, there's so much gray and white here. So if you can come in, bring in some color, bring in some fun design, much like what you and Jen do, and really just make the place pop on the photos, the people are going to come.
Yep. I had we had a Savvy agent that worked for us before I worked for Savvy that actually got a sub 2 deal in St. Louis. And he actually contacted me and said, I'd love for you and your wife to come in and potentially co-host this and the whole works. And we went and visited, and it was in Tower Grove, and it was a 6'2", 3-story, beautiful property, tons of character, but it needed an $80,000 renovation, maybe $100K renovation. And I'm like, all right, we would love to actually help you with this. That was a little bit earlier in our, what we were doing. So we're like, but we're going to need a budget. And he's like, I got about 10 grand.
Oh gosh.
And I'm like, yeah, I'm not your guy.
Yeah.
Like, that's not even going to pay my fee to design it, much less actually go in and buy any furniture and redo the work. And he kept it average. And 6 months later, he was looking for someone to buy it because he wasn't making money, because he didn't invest in his property. And that's probably almost every single investor that I talk to today, I tell them, if you don't have some money to invest in your property, this is not going to be the business for you, right? We don't want to sell people on a hope.
Right.
We want them to be successful. And I think that's the Savvy way everywhere around that we're pretty honest. Like if you truly want to be successful, you've got to invest in your property.
Yeah, and most people coming in through Savvy understand that. Occasionally we have to kind of talk them into reality a little bit, but it's been a lot easier, I think, to be able to get people to see the value in St. Louis than I originally thought it would be. Because I kind of look at, if I wasn't from here, what would I be looking for as an investor? I would be thinking beach markets, because that's, I think, what a lot of people think when they see vacation rentals. They don't think Midwest.
Yep, I agree. So life from turning from a TikTok superstar to being a realtor today, right? And co-host.
Yeah.
How has that transition been? And is your TikTok still flourishing? Or is that still a business that you're really driving?
Yeah, I had to step away from that because I got so busy with the short-term rentals that I just have not had the time. And so I love that I can work with so many investors and help them create something amazing. And it's sad. I look at the DIY TikTok channel that I built up over 4 or 5 years, and it's still there. It's still going. I still post here and there, but I'm hoping I can get back eventually as I'm reading the book that you recommended, Buy Back Your Time with Dan Martell. So I'm hoping once I finish that book and I've made a few shifts already and get some more time back, I can focus on that again. But right now I'm going all in on the STR world.
Yep, it's a great time to do it. The market's great. Obviously, we're seeing we might even see an interest rate hike in the next 30 to 45 days. But I still think by the third and fourth quarter, we're going to start to see everything kind of level out. Hopefully, this Iran thing kind of goes away, and we'll get back to business as usual. But for all the adversity that we've had this year, we're all still having very successful years.
Yeah.
Right. So we're in what I'd say a tough market, and there's a lot of people out there that are not being successful right now in the real estate world. We're flourishing, and we're not even into what's getting ready to come, and that's busy season for us, which is the second half of the year.
Yeah. No, it's I don't know what's happening just in the last few weeks. It got busy even. So even with everything going on overseas and just with the economy in general, investors are still going all in here.
Yep, there's a saying that when people are being safe, that's when you need to go all in.
Yes.
And when everybody's going all in, that's when you need to step back and be safe. And there's people that I talk to that have been in this space for years that during the 21, 22, and early 23, they didn't buy a single short-term rental because everybody was going all in and overpaying and doing all these things. And now that everybody else is scaling back, these people are jumping back into the space, say, I'm getting good deals. I just closed on a deal the other day at $200,000 under asking price, all in.
That's incredible.
So it was listed at 1.6.
Yeah.
We got it at 1.5 with $100K in seller credits and closing costs paid for and all of that good stuff. So and that's a house that their net is at 1.4. That's going to do $300,000+.
That's incredible.
We couldn't have done that in 21 and 22 when everybody was overpaying, right? So it truly is, in a way, still a buyer's market. And even in St. Louis, where it's not like it is in Florida, you're still able to find good deals.
You're still able to find really good deals here. Yeah. Even in Lake of the Ozarks too, there's a few to be had. Now, I will say, if you're kind of looking at which market to invest, if you've got to pick one, if you're looking for turnkey, St. Louis City is not going to be it for you. It's rare that I come across a short-term rental for sale, fully furnished, ready to go, which is a good problem, right? That means they're holding them, they're making money.
Yep.
So we'll look at the lake if you need something kind of up and ready to go. But as far as gross ROI goes, I mean, I run the numbers, I walk every property. I don't recommend it unless it's at least a 15% gross ROI or higher.
Yeah, I think, and I think in the St. Louis market, I look for 20 because of our high cost of insurance and taxes in Florida. In St. Louis, 15 plus can be really, really good. When you look at underwriting the numbers, we're actually getting ready to write an offer on a property in Scottsdale, and same thing. Taxes are less, insurance is less. A 15% gross ROI looks really darn good in that market. And if we can hit 20%, great. If you can knock it out of the park. And that's what I like. And I don't know if you use the Savvy Pro Forma. We actually have a Pro Forma that has, it gives you your good, better, best.
Yes.
And I actually like to say, this is your break even. This is the average, and this is if you knock it out of the park. Yeah. So then an investor can really look at the numbers and say, okay, if I have a bad year, I'm still breaking even here, right?
Yeah.
And this is doing better than, break even is less than the average.
Yeah.
This is what I'm doing if I'm average, and that's still a decent return. So that's one of the things I love about our Savvy Pro Forma.
Yeah, and it also breaks down the bonus depreciation too, and gives you that information, which I've never seen on any other Pro Forma. So that's really nice to be able to see that number.
It does. It does. So let's talk about bonus depreciation because, in the St. Louis market at these prices, land value is really low. So bonus depreciation is huge
Yeah.
in a market like this, right?
Yeah. I actually had a gal that got her first refund check back, and usually she pays every year. And she texted me, it was several tens of thousands of dollars, and she said, this doesn't even seem real.
Yeah.
So very
Yep.
exciting. Yeah.
So instead of her paying, let's just say 30 or 40, she got 10 or 20 back. Now
she got 83,000 back.
Okay, so instead of paying, she got
Yeah.
80 back. So now she's got 100 plus K more
Exactly.
that she would have paid to Uncle Sam
Yep.
to buy another property.
She already bought her second one this year.
Right.
So,
So,
yeah.
People don't understand, I see people say, oh, the wealthy stay wealthy. These aren't wealthy people we're dealing with. These are W-2 employees
Yep.
that we're typically talking to and working with and maybe they have high W-2s, but they're not $1 million earners by any means. Of our typical investor is not $1 million earner by any means.
No.
They are families that are looking for
Yep.
ways to invest outside of the stock market, save on some taxes, and then continue to reinvest in their future.
But they're seeing the value, like they're going all in. I've had several investors that this is their first one, and they're spending all of their money on the down payment. They're using their credit cards to furnish it, but they're getting it all back as soon as that refund check hits. And they're believing in it so much that they're saying, I can do this. Let's go.
Yep. There's risk in any type
There
of
is.
investment, right? No matter what investment you put in, whether it be the stock market or in crypto or in
Yeah.
oil or whatever it is, there's always going to be some sort of risk. But in real estate, you control your risk.
Exactly.
I truly believe you get to control your risk because you can really kind of dictate. Of course, no one can dictate the future of the market. Anything could happen. But even then, if the market comes down like it did in 2008, but your property's still cash flowing,
Yeah.
doesn't really matter because you can wait till the market comes back, right? And that's what I hear all the time is, oh, we're getting ready to go through a market crash. We're going to have a market crash. So if my house that I bought in Florida for $800,000 drops to $500,000, but I'm still profiting 35 grand a year and I have to wait 5 years for it to come back to $800,000, I didn't lose.
Right.
You only lose if you sell lower than what you bought.
Yeah.
Right? And there are some people in 22 and 23 that overpaid, didn't invest in their property, and now they're selling it lower than what they bought. And that's really, in my opinion, the only way you lose.
No, 100% agree. But not to mention the tax benefits that you continue to enjoy in that 5 years while you're waiting for it to come back up.
Yeah, because the tax benefits continue.
Even after the bonus, you still get to spread out anything over a 15-year schedule.
There's still depreciation.
Plenty.
And So I think obviously Midwest, as we discussed, great place to invest. No matter if you want to be in the urban market,
or the lake,
the suburban market, or the lake market. I'm going to add one more in there, and that's Incline Village. I know you looked a little bit into Incline Village, or not Incline Village, Innsbruck,
Innsbruck,
for a while.
yeah.
So Innsbruck is another kind of small lake market that's kind of in between St. Louis and Lake of the Ozarks. And I've actually seen Innsbruck on the TV shows like Bargain Hunters and short-term rentals, stuff like that. What does the prices look like in there, and is that an area that is investable at all?
I started to look into that before I jumped into Lake of the Ozarks, and I quickly realized the prices are a little high based on what you could rent it for. And the numbers just did not shake out well enough for me. So, and because it's so much smaller and not as well known, I mean, it is very popular lake locally, but it's not as well known outside of the area. Whereas Lake of the Ozarks gives you that other states coming in for it. So
They do. People drive, everybody knows Harshad and Ashita who.
they have a place there.
That was one of their first short-term rentals was in Lake of the Ozarks.
Yeah.
So their first one was in Iowa. Their second one was in Lake of the Ozarks. So, and they still own that, and they've had that for 5 or 6 years now. So outside of Missouri, people are investing in Lake of the Ozarks because it is truly a destination.
It is. But we do have a new Savvy agent coming to Missouri that I think is going to be looking into the Innsbruck and maybe can do some good out there. He's going to take kind of the north part of the state.
Awesome.
So we'll see what we can do out there, for investors looking for a smaller lake market.
Yep, because we have another great lake just north of where I live, which is Mark Twain Lake.
Yes.
Which is a very investable market as well.
Yep.
It's a little bit more of a rural, but Hannibal, Missouri, which is a destination town, old town right on the river, really close to Mark Twain Lake, and that's, I'm sure, the market that he's going to really focus on.
I think so too. I mean, Branson, the Ozarks, we have so much to offer in the state. It's gorgeous.
Yep, and Kansas City, but that's a whole different beast on that side of it, and they have a lot of regulations over there. So stay on the St. Louis side, and we'll find some good investment for you. So Melissa, thank you so much for coming in today and being in person. So
this was fun.
Yep. So, and looking forward to having you on again.
Okay. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you guys for joining me for another episode of the Short Term Rental Playmaker. We'll talk to you soon.